to Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith in the studios of our flagship stations, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. You can find Civic Center TV on Comcast, Channel 15, and AT&T Channel 99, where you're also going to be able to find one of our many partnering TV stations in Birmingham area municipal access. You can also find us on Channel 15 in Southfield, on City Cable 15 of Southfield as well. Join us on Channel 10 in Waterford, on the Media Network of Waterford, and in Orion Township and Lake Orion and surrounding areas on Orion Neighborhood Television. Join us also online on our Facebook pages at Civic Center TV 15 and at Lakes FM, as well as on our website, civiccentertv.com. Just click on our Watch Live link at the top of the page on your computer web browser, and if you're viewing us from your smartphone in your web browser, there's a drop-down menu in the left margin of the screen, and when you get to that drop-down menu, it's the second from the bottom. Watch Live, click on that, and you'll be able to view our live player 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, including from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Monday through Friday, for our live editions of the Megacast. Join us also online on My Michigan TV or My. It is a free service featuring programs all about the state of Michigan from creators all across the Great Lakes state. It is free to view online. It is free to subscribe. And you can also learn more information on their website at mymytv.com about where you can download both their free smartphone app and smart TV app as well. Again, that is mymytv.com. And you can find all the websites and all the information you need about our partnering TV, radio, and web outlets by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. We have links to every single one of our partners, so you can view everything that they do outside of the 2 hours a day, 5 days a week that we are live with them here on the Megacast, and find all of our full shows and individual interviews on demand on that page as well. Again, civiccentertv.com/megacast, or you can just go to our website, civiccentertv.com, and click on the Megacast link. Also on our website, go over to our coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus to bring you to direct resources that will keep you up to date on everything that you need to know about COVID-19 as we continue to get more and more information by the days, by the weeks, and month to month as we continue through this pandemic with a new variant that will potentially soon be the dominant strain. We'll have an article on that here in just a few minutes explaining when that may take place, and also where you can get information on vaccinations, on precautionary measures that you can take, and especially on the spread of COVID-19 here in Oakland County, in southeastern Michigan, across the state, the region, and around the U.S. and the world. From the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services at our State of Michigan link, and the Oakland County Health Division as well. All very helpful links to give you information on COVID-19 at the local, state, and national level. Also on our website, as I mentioned, we pull articles from many different news outlets across the state of Michigan, both on the COVID-19 front and about other top stories making headlines across the state each and every day. And today, our top story is on the COVID-19 front. As I mentioned, the Omicron variant, the new variant that's now popping up all across the U.S., including here in the state of Michigan. And this article from the Detroit Free Press: Michigan confirms more Omicron COVID-19 cases and say that it could become the dominant strain by January. The Omicron variant is quickly gaining ground in the United States, health officials warned on Wednesday, as 2 more confirmed cases of the virus were identified in Michigan. Although the strain is now estimated to make up only about 3% of COVID cases in the U.S., quote, early data suggests that Omicron is more transmissible than Delta, with a doubling time of about 2 days, and closed quote, said Dr. Rochelle Walensky, director of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. At that level of growth, Omicron could become the dominant strain of the virus in the U.S. before the new year. Quote, my guess is that Omicron will become the dominant variant in early 2022, and closed quote, said Dennis Cunningham, Henry Ford Health System's medical director of infection control and prevention. The Omicron variant is quickly gaining ground in the U.S. Ground in the U.S. And again, it says it's making up about 3% of coronavirus cases in the country. The Genesee County residents initially tested positive, the first ones to test positive for Omicron in the state on December 1st and December 2nd. Their test samples underwent genetic sequencing, and the county health department was notified that they were infected with the Omicron variant. Both cases were associated with domestic travel, and neither of the residents of Genesee County were hospitalized. Health officials have conducted contact tracing and case investigation in that particular matter. in Genesee County. All counties in Michigan have high rates of transmission of COVID-19 at this time, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And the state remains among the worst coronavirus hotspots in the nation, with a 7-day case rate of 502.2 cases per 100,000 residents as of Tuesday afternoon. On Wednesday, 4,404 adults and children were hospitalized in the state with confirmed cases of COVID-19, according to the MDHHS. About 86% of intensive care beds statewide were full, and 640 patients with COVID-19 in Michigan were on ventilators. Quote, "We are in crisis. There's no way around it. There's no way to sugarcoat it," said Bob Riney, Chief Operating Officer and President of Healthcare Operations for the Detroit-based Henry Ford Health System. Riney continued on, quote, "On any given day, our emergency departments are either at capacity or close to it, and oftentimes serving as inpatient units because we don't have any beds available in our standard inpatient units or ICU. There are many sick people coming through the doors, and the majority of them are coming in with COVID. Our worry, of course, is that we gather for the holidays and we're all exhausted of the protective measures. Things could get even worse," and closed quote. About 75 to 80% of patients hospitalized with COVID-19 are unvaccinated across Henry Ford hospitals, and more than 85% of patients in their ICUs and on ventilators are unvaccinated. People who are vaccinated are 30 times more likely to survive COVID admission than unvaccinated patients, according to doctors at Henry Ford Health System. Americans 16 and older are eligible for boosters if they have gotten their second dose of either Pfizer or Moderna vaccines in the past 6 months, or a single dose of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine at least 2 months ago. Those who are unvaccinated are 8 times more likely to be hospitalized from a COVID infection and 14 more times likely to die from the virus compared with someone who is fully vaccinated, said Jeff Zients, the White House Coronavirus Response Team Coordinator. That full article from the Detroit Free Press posted on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Here locally, copycat threats continue at many different schools at many different levels, elementary, middle school, and high school, all across the state of Michigan, certainly here in Oakland County. Another article from the Detroit Free Press, copycat threats after Oxford schools shooting leave juveniles facing drastic consequences for those actions. Dozens of individuals, mostly juveniles in the Tri-County area, have been issued charges in connection with copycat threats of violence toward schools. County prosecutors seeking to make examples of these incidents as a means to end the madness have levied charges ranging from threats of terrorism to disturbing the peace. Children as young as 11 years old, regardless of their intentions, are now facing legal ramifications for their actions. While the Michigan juvenile system's philosophy is shaped around rehabilitation rather than punishment, children are still subjected to life-altering consequences that can drastically shape the course of their lives. The message from authorities boils down to 4 words: this isn't a joke. Quote, "Parents, please talk to your children," said Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy during a news conference addressing the influx of copycat threats. Prosecutor Worthy continued on saying, quote, "Let them know this is serious. Let them know, even if they intend for it to be a prank, it is not a joke," and closed quote. In the aftermath of the Oxford High School shooting that left 4 students dead, schools have been shaken with monitoring for threats and subsequent disruption to learning. A Wyandotte student brandished an army knife in a bathroom fight, injuring an upperclassman, and a Southfield student was arrested after getting caught with a semi-automatic pistol in his pocket, to name a few of the most recent examples. The introduction into the juvenile system can be devastating for a child, said Robin McCoy, a criminal defense attorney with decades of experience defending and advocating for juveniles. Quote, "When they come into the system, it's like a cry for help. It's a cry for attention," she said. Thus far, 38 individuals have been charged by Prosecutor Worthy's office for threats of violence, with 2 other cases still under review. In Macomb County, it's reached 30, and Oakland County has issued charges in 17 cases. Juveniles as young as 11 years old have been hit with these charges, and the majority of the cases are still very much in the preliminary stages at this time. Continued media coverage coupled with stress-riddled parents has led law enforcement officials to pursue every threat with equal fervor. Quote, "There have been tons of copycats, and we're investigating every one because we never want to take anything for granted," said Oakland County Sheriff Michael Boucher Bouchard, adding that they've investigated nearly 140 of these threats. Quote, "We'd rather check out 1,000 nothings than miss one real deal." This heightened scrutiny fixed on county officials makes it difficult to predict what consequences family court judges will assign to juveniles, which could include time in juvenile homes and rehabilitation programs. Investigations of threats could result in recommendations for counseling or warnings, but due to the severity of the charges, some say it may end with juveniles on probation or removed from their homes entirely. Too many factors are at play to accurately predict what may be in store for these individuals. In Muskegon County, nearly a 3-hour cross-state drive from Oakland County, 19 cases all involving students, with one charged as an adult, have been pursued involving copycat threats, with 5 more currently under review at the time of this article being posted. Time away from home spent in juvenile centers leaves children jaded, said experts such as McCoy. It places a burden on their shoulders, a weight that children shouldn't have to carry. Beyond rehab programs and juvenile homes, having a record may pose an obstacle for juveniles even after they become adults. Michigan is one of few states to allow juvenile records to be public, and those records may be revisited if an individual commits an offense as an adult, or even affect their educational, career, and housing opportunities as well. Quote, "It follows you," said McGee. "This goes far beyond the school threat itself. It goes beyond getting out of a day of class. Everything around you would be disrupted, and it's not worth it." And closed quote. Advocates and experts agree that Michigan's juvenile system is in disrepair. A ProPublica investigation uncovered flaws in the state's decentralized system that poorly tracked data and lacked county oversight. However, legislation approved by Governor Whitmer serves as a beacon of hope for juveniles in Michigan. This bill, which has yet to go into effect, aims to seal juvenile court records from public view and create a process to automatically expunge juvenile records for those who stay out of trouble. Regardless of the program's in juvenile justice on a policy level, the goal remains to keep kids out of the system to begin with. That full article from our friends at the Detroit Free Press on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. As we look forward to 2022, which is a big election year here in the state of Michigan for the midterms, we've actually talked about this on this show before. We've interviewed one of the individuals advocating for the National Popular Vote campaign and trying to get it on ballots as recently as 2022. However, Bridge Michigan's reporting now the National Popular Vote Compact won't make the Michigan ballot in 2022 at all, and likely won't be seen until 2024. A bipartisan group pushing to elect presidents based on the National Popular Vote is pulling the plug on plans for a 2022 ballot proposal in the Great Lakes state. Organizers confirmed on Thursday. They quote, "Yes on National Popular Vote," and closed quote, "committee is halting immediate plans for a petition drive, but isn't giving up on the effort altogether." Quote, "We will continue to educate the public, build our coalition, build support, and work toward passing the National Popular Vote law in Michigan in 2024, said former state Republican Party Chairman Saul Anousis in a statement. Anousis continued on saying, quote, "We will remain steadfast in our efforts to bring about this necessary reform that will apply the principle of one person, one vote to our presidential elections," and closed quote. The group's proposed sought over voter authorization for Michigan to join in an interstate compact that would upend but not technically undo the electoral college system that has 5 times produced a president who got fewer votes than their competitor, most recently that being Republican Donald Trump in 2016. The compact would also take effect if enough states pledge their electoral votes to ensure election of the candidate who received the most individual votes nationwide. That would be regardless of what they received in their own state. So, for example, if candidate A received 60% of the votes here in Michigan and candidate B received 40% of the votes in Michigan, but candidate B received more votes nationwide in the popular vote, the vote with the electoral votes here in the state of Michigan in that scenario would go to candidate B, despite them having fewer votes than their opposition here in the state of Michigan. That's how this would work. 15 states and the District of Columbia have joined the compact since 2006, and a successful 2022 ballot proposal would have made Michigan the 16th. Solonusis, a Republican and former Michigan Democratic Party Chair Mark Brewer, announced plans for the initiative back in September. Legislative Republicans, however, made clear they would fight the initiative, arguing it would encourage presidential candidates to focus on higher population states and stop campaigning in rural areas. And the Michigan GOP State Central Committee this month voted to formally oppose the effort. Quote, the National Popular Vote campaign threatened to take away Michigan's voice in choosing the leader of the free world, turning it over to liberal elitists and coastal cities in California and New York, said State Republican Party Chair Ron Weiser in a statement on Thursday. Continuing on, he said, quote, the road to the White House runs through Michigan, and this is the first big victory of many for us coming into the 2022 cycle. All of those articles on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where you can also find very helpful information hyper locally from many of our local municipalities here in Oakland County, from the Oakland County Health Division, at the state level from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and at the federal level from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. We've got a great show ahead of you today. Coming up next at 10:20, we'll be speaking with Dr. Hebah Hefzy, the medical director of the stroke program at Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital. At 10:40, the etiquette guru, Stacy Amey, will join us as we approach the new year, go into a few more of the holidays at the end of December, and continue through this COVID-19 pandemic with new variables coming into play each and every day, each and every week. She'll help us keep prim and proper as we interact with others at home and out and about in our communities. At 11 o'clock, Rick Joseph, a member of Michigan's School Safety Commission and a 5th and 6th grade teacher at NBC at Birmingham Covington School, will join us on the show. 11:20, we'll be joined by Morgan Schilling. She is Morgan Schilling, the Business Development Director at the Avalon Communities of Michigan. And then we'll wrap up the show at 11:40 with Beth Nixon, who is the owner of Reware Vintage, located in downtown Berkeley. That's all coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
To Sophia and Gabriel, even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe here in our studios in West Bloomfield Township. Although we're broadcasting all throughout Oakland County and across the state of Michigan on a number of different outlets. Learn more information about everywhere that you can find us live and live to tape, as well as find us on demand at our website at civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Joining us now from Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital's stroke program is Dr. Hebah Hefzy. She is the medical director of the program over there that just recently earned a recertification as a thrombectomy-capable stroke center, and she joins us now on the Megacast. Doctor, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So stroke, it is the 5th leading cause of death in the United States at this present moment. And, of course, as I said, Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital just recently re-earned its certification as a thrombectomy-capable stroke center. We'll talk more about what that means and the implications of that recertification, but let's just start with the basics about stroke. When somebody suffers from a stroke, minor and severe or anywhere in between, physiologically, what is happening to their body and what impacts can that potentially have on them should they survive?
So strokes are caused by blocked blood vessels and blocked blood flow to the brain. And as we say, time is brain. So it's very, very important that the moment that stroke symptoms are identified, that emergency medical attention is sought immediately, because there's so much we can do now to reverse a stroke, but it has to be done quickly.
And so some people have strokes that are relatively minor and they get the treatment, and afterwards there's a little bit of recovery time, but generally they're fine. And there's others that have severe strokes that either result, unfortunately, in death or in severe symptoms even after the fact and significant rehabilitation to live even a fraction of what they considered normal life before then. Are there different kinds of strokes, and what determines in one individual versus another how severe or what kind of a stroke they may have?
That's a great question. Yes, there are different types of strokes. So in a broader sense, there are strokes that are caused by bleeding in the brain and strokes that are caused by lack of oxygen to the brain. We're going to focus on the strokes caused by lack of oxygen to the brain. There are many different causes of those types of strokes. You can have a blocked blood vessel, a large one in the neck. You can have a blocked blood vessel inside the head, and you can have very small blood vessels that are blocked that we can't even see. And the only way to know which is the cause is by CT scan, which can only be done in the emergency room. Once we do that CT scan, we can see, is there a blood clot in the neck? Is there a blood clot in the head? Or is there no blood clot? And depending on what we find, we can target treatment for that. The focus of this talk is on blood clots, whether they're in blood vessels in the neck or in the head. And that's where the certification that we have been recertified for is looking at. It's thrombectomy, which is removal of those clots.
So you mentioned earlier, you said time is brain. For those that may be suffering a stroke or people that may witness somebody that is suffering a stroke and is helping them to seek as immediate of treatment as possible, just how does time factor into the results that someone may be dealing with in the wake of having a stroke?
Sure. So the treatments that we have to offer for acute stroke they can only be given within 24 hours of the time that the patient was last known to be normal. There are IV clot busting medicines that we can give, but those can only be given within the first 3 to 4 hours from the time that patient was last known to be normal. Some of the treatments where we remove the clots can be done up to 24 hours later, depending on how much brain tissue is still salvageable. And that's something that we're able to quantify by CT scan.
We're joined by Dr. Hebah Hefzy. She is the medical director of the stroke program at Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital, joining us today on the Megacast. And so stroke, as we mentioned earlier, the 5th leading cause of death in the United States, being that last year in particular at the height of the early stages of the pandemic, and even now as people may continue to unfortunately be more reluctant to go to a hospital to seek treatment for emergencies or even for those routine checks that could potentially prevent eventually down the line situations such as having a stroke. Have we seen a greater number of strokes here in Michigan or here in the local area, or even just in general across the board, as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, both from the effects that COVID has on the body and on top of that, the ways that people have been interacting with our health systems while trying to stay safe with the pandemic?
Yeah, those are great questions. So yes, we have definitely seen a rise in our volume of patients coming in with stroke symptoms that are found to have blood clots in the larger blood vessels in their brain. Not often, but sometimes in those patients, we do find that they do have COVID, and no other reason for that blood clot is found except for COVID. And we know that COVID does increase your likelihood of forming blood clots. And so we have seen COVID-related strokes, and in patients who have COVID-related strokes, the cause is almost always a large blood clot in one of the blood vessels in the brain. And those patients, when they present to the hospital in enough time to have the procedure done where the clot is removed, can have just as good outcomes as their non-COVID counterparts.
So for those that are not immediately familiar or don't have that expert recognition of the signs and symptoms of stroke, what are some of the keys that people should be watching out for if they notice some behavior physiologically or just behaviorally?
Symptoms of stroke can range anything from loss of vision, facial droop, speech difficulty or inability to speak, a sudden severe headache, numbness, tingling, or weakness down one side of the body or even just in one limb, an arm or a leg, difficulty walking, sudden severe dizziness. The key is that the symptoms typically come on suddenly, and that there's not always a warning sign for stroke. When a stroke happens, it happens right away. And right away when those stroke symptoms appear, 911 should be called.
So we've heard of silent heart attacks, but is there such thing as a silent stroke where those symptoms may be so benign that someone may not even notice them?
Silent strokes happen. Those are not typically caused by large blocked blood vessels. Those are typically caused by blockage of very small blood vessels. When a large blood vessel is blocked, the symptoms are usually identifiable.
And so, as we mentioned earlier, Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital just recently received its recertification as a thrombectomy-capable stroke center. For those that are not familiar or wondering what that is and why this is so significant, what goes into being a thrombectomy-capable stroke center, and how is that beneficial on an emergency medicine front here in our local area?
So this certification, so that in order to be a qualified center to treat acute stroke to the maximum degree, you have to go through a very stringent qualification process. And then once you get it, you are commonly audited and have to adhere to a very strict code to keep that accreditation. It's a national site, the Joint Commission, that surveys the organization, and you can be anything from just a primary stroke center that does not do thrombectomies, which are the majority of stroke centers actually. And then there's the thrombectomy capable, and then the higher degree from that is the comprehensive stroke center, which our main campus in downtown Detroit has. At Henry Ford West Bloomfield, the thrombectomy capable site allows us to be able to do all of these procedures where clots are removed and acute strokes are treated here in our hospital, and the patients are then admitted to our ICU and our stroke unit and taken care of by stroke certified neurologists like myself.
So then, procedurally speaking, in layman's terms, what is a mechanical thrombectomy, and how does that provide an immediate benefit to stroke victims?
So a mechanical thrombectomy is a procedure that's done where a catheter is put in a blood vessel in the groin typically, and then iodine or contrast is shot into the blood vessel so we can get a picture of the inside of the blood vessel. And when we see the blood clot, we're able to suck it out just like with a vacuum cleaner.
So is this a procedure that's typically done in an emergency setting, or is this a scheduled procedure?
It's done in an emergency setting. The patient is identified in the emergency room. The team is called in from home. It's a whole team that involves an anesthesiologist, a surgeon who does the procedure. It's coordinated by the stroke neurologist who's on call and the emergency room doctor. So there's a big team of people, and we're all working together simultaneously. And all of these things happen within minutes. And the team comes in, and the patient within an hour maximum of arriving to the emergency room would be on the table having the clot removed from their brain. And that includes the time it takes to have the tests to identify where the blocked blood vessel is and the time it takes for the team to come in. But once the team is here, the procedure is actually very fast and it's very efficient, and results are seen typically almost right away.
We're joined by Dr. Hebah Hefzy. She is the medical director of the stroke program at Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital, with us today on the Megacast. These are all great. This is all great for treating stroke in an emergency setting and preventing those immediate dangers from resulting in severe symptoms in some cases, or at the very least, keeping the patient that may be suffering from a stroke alive. But I think I would, and correct me if I'm wrong in speaking for the medical community, they'd rather have these patients never come in and have to deal with a stroke altogether. So what, for those that may be at risk of stroke, or even just the general population, what lifestyle changes are suggested by medical experts such as yourself and your colleagues to prevent stroke?
That's a great question. It all starts with prevention. So common risk factors for stroke are high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes. These conditions need to be treated by the patient's medical doctor, and you should, if you don't have them, you should be screened consistently for them. Diet is very important, a heart-healthy diet, a low-fat diet. Exercise is recommended by the American Heart Association, 30 minutes of pretty moderate, vigorous aerobic exercise 5 to 6 days a week. And there are certain conditions of the heart that can increase your risk of having a stroke. Irregular heart rhythms can cause clots to form in the heart and go to the brain and cause stroke. And you should be seen by your doctor to screen for those irregular heart rhythms. The most common one is atrial fibrillation. And if that irregular rhythm is identified, then you need to be on a blood thinner to prevent clots from forming and going to the brain.
Doctor, just a few more minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else at this time that would be important for our audience to be considering to prevent stroke, to recognize stroke, or that they should understand about the treatment of stroke if themselves or someone else in their life should suffer from one?
I think the most important thing that I want to get across is time is brain. And often when somebody starts exhibiting stroke symptoms, 25% of the time they can crump very quickly. And so it's really important that you not wait and you not try to drive yourself to the hospital. If you or somebody you know experiences any symptoms that suggest a stroke, no matter how minor they are, you should call 911, because the emergency triage team will know which hospital to take you to, because not every hospital is certified to treat stroke patients in this aggressive way. And so you want to make sure you call 911 so that you're taken to the closest hospital that is equipped to treat stroke.
Well, Doctor, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it. You can learn more information about the stroke program at Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital by visiting Henry Ford Health System's website. We've been joined by Dr. Hebah Hefzy, the medical director of the stroke program at Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we will get you ready for the holiday season, for the new year, and for continuing to navigate the COVID-19 pandemic respectfully and politely with Stacy Amey, the etiquette guru. She's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes. They stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM. Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. You can learn more information about our show, including everywhere that we broadcast live and live to tape Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, as well as on the weekends. And find all of our full episodes and each individual interview from our show on demand on civiccentertv.com/megacast. Well, as we head back into the late December holidays, into the new year, and get back together with our friends, with our family, and with others in the community, and continue to navigate this COVID-19 pandemic that we are still in, heading into approaching year number 3 of this. It can be tough to remain interacting with others in a way that's respectful and polite of everybody's situation, knowing that everybody is going to have a different opinion and a different state of mind on where we currently are at in our society. To help us navigate all those difficult details, we are joined now once again by the etiquette guru, Stacy Amey, on the Megacast. Stacy, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. You look handsome today, all dressed up.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
So right now, there's a lot of debate about vaccination versus not getting vaccinated. Everybody has their own opinions. Some have been, some have not been and are considering. Some have not been and are refusing to do so. And yet, here we are, all still needing to interact with our friends and with our families at this time of the year. So what do you suggest if you don't want to be around people that are unvaccinated or are refusing to take those precautions that are suggested to prevent the spread of COVID-19. How do you politely talk about this or address that situation so that it doesn't turn into a shouting match or a fight when you're with your family or when you're with your friends?
I think just appreciating, like you said, that everyone has their own opinions, be respectful of people and what they are choosing, but also keep yourself safe. If you maybe are having a party and you're having a mix of guests, some are elderly, maybe some can't get vaccinated, there's I think a few different options or ways to approach it. Having a conversation with an unvaxxed person, if you know that, if you're having a party in your home, I feel it's appropriate to ask people's status. But having said that, you could kindly ask an individual to get a COVID test before coming to your home, or once in your home, maybe everybody is wearing masks, social distancing, we all know the drill now. I guess a last option would be don't have a party this year and avoid the whole thing.
And so, I mean, we can prepare all we want for these kinds of situations, but ultimately, for some, they're going to have these kind of just spring onto them. If they're holding a party and someone says, sure, I'll play along, I'll follow these rules that you have in place or these suggestions that you have in place to make sure that I'm following the rules of your home or keeping everybody that's going to be a guest at your party safe and comfortable, then in some cases, that's going to be on set in process and not something that's discussed before. When things do get, let's say, chippy or snippy in these kinds of situations, where do you suggest people begin to, A, de-escalate that situation and that conversation, but also have a productive and polite dialogue about these issues?
Take that person aside, privately talk to them. You don't need to call people out in front of everybody. And, likely there'll be alcohol involved if it's a party, so that's only going to continue to escalate things. So taking someone aside and doing it privately, that might work. And if they are really out of control, I guess, you have to remove them from the situation. It's people's lives at stake. So, you really can't, there's not a whole lot of wiggle room there.
We're joined by Stacy Amey, the etiquette guru on the Megacast today. And so in a similar situation, people go into family gatherings at this time of the year. They do certainly during the Thanksgiving holiday and at the end of the year holidays as well. And while many will go in regardless of their political views, not wanting to talk about anything political, aiming for that not to happen, oftentimes at some point the talk turns to politics and things can get a little bit awry there. What do you say people should do in a situation where the conversation gets political and they want to draw away from it, either get themselves out of the conversation or turn that conversation back to something else without being disruptive of somebody else that may be leading that talk?
I think, just saying, maybe a cute little, I have a funny story, and trying to drive the conversation in another direction. If you are wanting to take it on, I guess, maybe if people can do it in an adult way and not get to the, very heated stage, and maybe setting some guidelines, no foul language, no raising your voice. If we want to just have a mature discussion, that's fine. It's not usually how it goes. I know everybody knows that, but, nonchalantly changing the subject, I will tell you, the person who's going to get hurt the most is the host or hostess. They have spent, hours, possibly days preparing for this party. And if a big argument breaks out, they're the one who is going to suffer. So people should be keeping that in mind, to be respectful of where they are. And, this conversation can happen another time. It's a conversation where it's one person trying to drive home their points and opinion to somebody who's never going to really receive it anyways. So it's kind of silliness. This literally happened to me. And it was very uncomfortable for myself and the rest of the people at my party. And, I drank a pitcher of mimosas because I didn't know what else to do. You can't stop people once they start. It's almost like trying to break up a fist fight. So maybe again, if you can curtail it and take the two people aside and say, look, this can be done another time. You can always try that because it's not appropriate and it's rude to ruin that person's party.
We're joined by Stacy Amey. She is the etiquette guru with us today on the Megacast as we head into the holidays, holiday get-togethers amongst families, amongst friends, co-workers, and so on. And in every group dynamic, whether it be your family, your colleagues, a group of friends, it's pretty commonplace for there to be rifts between individuals in the group, but generally that group is getting along. For those that are heading into these holiday gatherings at work, at home, wherever the case may be, and they have those relationships in their group, in the group that they're with, where there are certain people that clash, but you want to generally keep the peace. What advice do you have for people that are in a situation like that to help navigate that situation for everybody, keep the peace, and not take away from the social aspects of those gatherings while trying to de-escalate the rift that may be between these two individuals or more?
Stay friendly, stay positive, put your differences aside, or set up a time. And if you're trying to work something out with someone, a party isn't the time to do that. There's always going to be that person or those people that you don't necessarily get along with or even like. But I think there's always something redeeming, some quality about someone that you can find, and focus on that while you're talking to them. And if they turn negative, ignore it. Try to pull them into any kind of games or activities as best you can. And maybe music in the background. If there's some kind of silent awkwardness happening, that kind of can break things up too. But just stay positive yourself, and you can always laugh it off and walk away.
We're joined by Stacy Amey, the etiquette guru, joining us today on the Megacast. You can learn more information about her services, including children and teen classes, etiquette classes, Murray Magazine, and more on her website at theetiquetteguru.com. That is theetiquetteguru.com, or by calling 866-273-0728. Again, 866-273-0728. And so during the holidays, there are, of course, familial holiday gatherings. There are get-togethers with groups of friends. And then there's the office holiday parties that a lot of people are going to, and that's a time where you are in a work environment still, but it's a much more relaxed work environment. It's supposed to be more of a social environment in the workplace. That being said, it creates a difficult scenario, or a tricky scenario is probably a better word for it, where you're trying to maintain having a relaxed social environment, but keeping things professional, because these are often happening in the office. What suggestions do you have for individuals going to a holiday party or get together at their workplace, and for those that may be attending one on behalf of somebody else or with somebody else?
Probably the most important one and easiest one is watch your alcohol intake. That is going to be the source of many verbal mistakes and things like that you maybe otherwise wouldn't do. So that's my biggest suggestion. Just don't get drunk. That's not the place to do it. You still have to maintain some level of professionalism amongst your work people. So that's my greatest advice there.
We're joined by
have fun, but don't get drunk.
Yes, yeah, have fun, but remember, again, as I said before, you're still in your professional environment, so just keep that in mind as you are attending these holiday parties. We're joined by Stacy Amey, the etiquette guru, on the Megacast today. You can learn more information about the etiquette guru, about all of her Etiquette 101 classes for children 6 to 12 years old, and teen etiquette for 13 to 19-year-olds, as well as other classes, both virtual and and in person on her website at theetiquetteguru.com or by visiting a number of different social media for The Etiquette Guru as well, including their Facebook page at facebook.com/theetiquettegurumi, their Twitter page _etiquetteguru, and on Instagram, instagram.com/etiquetteguru. Stacy, just a few more minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. Any lasting advice for people as we continue to navigate the pandemic as we head into a new year?
Yes, my biggest hope for people this holiday season, I know it's still a very stressful situation. I hope people can turn all of their media off for a period of time and just take a break. Enjoy your family, enjoy just things, daydreaming, using your own imagination, and not being constantly bothered by your phone and your computer. Just, really just take a break and let your brain rest for a few minutes. And I would like to also interject that I am doing classes for adults too, and that is a possibility too, to take a break and do something new. Or I have etiquette family style, do something different with your family, and that would be fun too. In the corporate dining classes, if you're doing something with your professional friends, that's a fun option too, and ultimately will help your business succeed. So just my biggest takeaway for everybody this year is to just take a break and enjoy your family or your activities that you enjoy aside from any kind of electronics.
Stacy, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for the advice, and have a nice holiday.
Thank you, you too.
You can learn more information again at her website, theetiquetteguru.com. We're going to take a quick break on your radio homes for the Megacast. 89.3 WBLD, Orchard Lake, West Bloomfield, Kego Harbor, Sylvan Lake. Learn more information on lakesfm.com, as well as 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills, 88.1 The Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. On the other side of the break, we'll talk about school safety in the wake of the shooting at Oxford High School 2 weeks ago on Tuesday, and as more threats are coming into schools all throughout Oakland County and across the state of Michigan, that's a big focus on the education front and on a policy front at the state and the national level. We'll speak with Rick Joseph, who's a member of the Michigan School Safety Commission and also a 5th and 6th grade teacher at Birmingham's Covington School as well. That's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Achoo!
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
211, how can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe here in our studios in West Bloomfield Township in Oakland County, although we broadcast all throughout the state of Michigan, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. You can learn more information about everywhere that we broadcast live to tape, and on demand by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. In the wake of the Oxford High School shooting 2 weeks ago, school districts across the state of Michigan and policymakers across Michigan and the U.S. are considering ways that we can make our schools safer environments to prevent acts of violence such as this and other safety hazards in the future. And joining us now is one of the members of Michigan's School Safety Commission, who is also a 5th and 6th grade teacher at Covington School in Birmingham. Rick Joseph joins us now on the Megacast. Rick, thank you for being with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So where were you when you first heard of the shooting at Oxford High School? And being that you are a member of Michigan School Safety Commission and a teacher yourself, what were your immediate reactions and emotions given that news?
I was in my classroom teaching social studies, actually, when I heard about the shooting. It was that Tuesday, the 30th of November, right around after 1 o'clock, between 1 and 1:30, and I saw a notification that the shooting had occurred. And needless to say, I was shocked and upset, as everyone has been in the wake of the shooting. I was, of course, concerned. I have a dear colleague and friend who teaches on my team here at school, who has a senior and a freshman at Oxford High School. So, of course, my immediate thought was for her family's safety. Unfortunately, she was able to quickly leave our school and be reunited with her children.
We're joined by... please continue.
Just everyone locally, I think, in some way has been impacted by the shooting in Oxford, needless to say.
We're joined by Rick Joseph. He is a 5th and 6th grade teacher at Covington School in Birmingham, as well as a member of the Michigan School Safety Commission, with us today on the Megacast. And so before the shooting on the same day, teachers had pulled the shooter, this 15-year-old boy, out of class and into a meeting with counselors, with the administrators, and with his parents after previously the day before having an incident where he had been caught researching ammunition on his phone in class. He had in that meeting they discussed drawing scenes depicting death in the classroom as well. As an educator, but also as a member of the School Safety Commission in the state of Michigan, what's your evaluation of the way and of the manner in which the counselors and the administrators at Oxford High School handled the situation with Ethan Crumbley on that day?
Needless to say, that's a question that's on everybody's mind. And as an educator, I concluded that I would have made the exact same decision that my colleagues in Oxford made. And I find absolutely no fault in their decision. And here's why. We as educators are trained to, of course, hold the safety, the emotional and physical safety of our students is paramount. That is always the most important consideration and the most important priority. At the same time, we also believe that as children, we must give our students the opportunity to make mistakes. We have to give them the benefit of the doubt, and we have to listen to them and believe them when there is reason to believe them. So in this case, the shooter mentioned that he was looking for ammunition because he and his family practice sport shooting, which is something that's very common all over the country, certainly in Oakland County. Not an unlikely scenario or justification for why an individual would be shopping for ammunition. Should they have been shopping in class? No. But are students ever off task in class? Of course they are. It's endemic. It's always been the case that students with or without technology are going to be off task at times. The following day, of course, the day of the shooting on Tuesday, the shooter was in a meeting with his parents, and his parents were asked by the school to take him out of school and get counseling within 48 hours, and they refused. Given that he had no prior behavioral incidences, no prior record of concern, it was suggested that he return to class. I mean, the decision was made rather that he go back to class. If I had been in that chair as the educator in charge of the situation, as I said, I would have made the same call.
We're joined by Rick Joseph from the Michigan School Safety Commission. He's also a 5th and 6th grade educator at Birmingham's Covington School, joining us today on the Megacast. And so being that, as you mentioned, the parents refused to take the child home with them after that was suggested by the school, he then returned to class, and of course we know what happened beyond that. There's obviously going to be a lot of frustration in the community because the situation turned out to be tragic in the wake of those decisions, and they made a judgment call based on what they know, based on their education, their formal training, their experiences in the classroom and in these school environments, and that obviously it didn't work out positively, but they had to make those decisions based on the information they had at that time. Parents this week at the Oxford School Board meeting, obviously, understandably, very frustrated, some outraged, and saying that the administrators and the counselors should be held responsible and maybe even lose their jobs because of this. What do you say to the parents who are understandably frustrated, some outraged by the fact that the shooter was returned to class despite the information that was put in front of their teachers, their counselors, and their administrators in the decision that was being made?
Say to all those families who have been impacted by this tragedy that I feel horrible. My heart goes out to all of them. As I said, my colleague received a text message at work from her daughter who was across the hall from the shooter as the shooting was in progress. And it's horrible. It's absolutely heartbreaking, it's devastating, and it's painful. And there's a significant amount of pain pain that we all have to feel right now. And we have to acknowledge that there's a whole variety of responses that different people in our community, both the people who lost loved ones, the 4 children who died that day, and of course, all of those who were injured as well, and those that were in any way traumatized by the events of November 30th, are living with. And so, as a dad, as an educator, as a community member, as a member of the School Safety Commission, as the Michigan Teacher of the Year, all the hats that I wear, I of course, feel their pain, if you will. At the same time, my hope is that this, the latest in a long list of school shootings and a long list of senseless tragedies, will provide a wake-up call for us as citizens and for our legislators to help address the situation in 2 key ways. Number 1 is promote an opportunity for more mental health professionals in schools throughout our state. Counselors, school psychologists, and school social workers. We are 49th out of 50 states throughout the country in the number of counselors, in the ratio of counselors to students in schools. And so it's clear that there is a need for a more robust presence of mental health professionals who can not only respond in a crisis, but who can consistently meet the needs of students who are in any way in need. So that's one consideration that hopefully will emerge out of this tragedy. The other, of course, is sensible gun control. And even polls among NRA members themselves have shown that people want sensible gun control measures to hopefully prevent these kinds of tragedies from happening in the future. And so what I've just said is not going to take the pain away. Legislation, new policies, new laws are not going to take the pain of the loss away from those families who've been impacted, who lost family members or who've had family members injured. And I feel, of course, horrible for them. It's terrible. And it's important that those people have the opportunity to share their frustration, their anger, and their pain.
We're joined by Rick Joseph. He is a 5th and 6th grade educator at the Birmingham Covington School and also a member of the Michigan School Safety Commission, joining us on the Megacast. And there have been a lot of questions about inactions or lack of actions, particularly taken after that meeting with the shooter and his parents that day at Oxford High School. Particularly, why didn't they check his backpack? Why didn't they search the student? From your perspective as a member of the Michigan School Safety Commission, what are the suggestions or the protocols that may be in place in terms of the rules of engagement on checking a student's backpack or encouraging the checking of student belongings, whether it be their backpack or their locker or a desk or something of that effect?
As I understand it, there are very few individuals who are legally permitted to search a student's backpack in a public school setting. And I believe it's a police officer or a school resource officer and perhaps a principal. I'm not entirely certain. I do know, as I stated before, that if I had been in that situation on that Tuesday with that student and their parents, I would not necessarily have had any probable cause to search that student's backpack. Of course, in hindsight, everybody wonders why that backpack wasn't searched. But I do know that there are certain limitations to which individuals have the legal right to search students' backpacks. And again, given all that was known, given the student's background and academic and behavioral history, there was not necessarily a probable cause before the shooting to search the student's backpack. And I understand from what I've read why. And as I said before, I likely would have made the exact same call. I would not necessarily have searched that child's bag. and I wouldn't even necessarily be able to myself personally, but obviously those that have had the opportunity or the ability to do so, even, they didn't necessarily feel that there was probable cause.
And so in the wake of the shooting, decisions being made at the state level, decisions being made at the local level, and including in the Oxford School District in terms of changes of policy to prevent tragedies like this in the future, while our leaders at the state and federal level address policy issues, address legal policy issues. Oxford now saying that they will be adhering to a zero-tolerance policy if they detect any questionable behavior from the students. They will be removing their students from that situation. Given your opinion on the actions taken on November 30th with the student who perpetuated this school shooting, what are your thoughts on that zero-tolerance policy that Oxford is going to be implementing going forward?
If I were in a community that is still grieving, as Oxford clearly is, it would make complete sense as to why the school district would want to adopt a policy to keep everyone safe. These decisions are made at the local school district level, and who could possibly blame the people in Oxford for wanting to keep everyone safe? It's obvious that all students in every school deserve to be in an environment that is emotionally and physically safe at all times. And as educators, we do our absolute level best to make that happen. And so what's happening in Oxford now is certainly a reaction to the school shooting. And I would imagine that these policies will be responsive to the reality of life in Oxford Public Schools. And so if we look at other examples from around the country, policy changes occur in the wake of violent incidents. And obviously they reflect the absolute mandate for us as educators to keep our students and colleagues safe.
We're joined by Rick Joseph. He is a member of the Michigan School Safety Commission and is also an educator himself, a 5th and 6th grade teacher at Birmingham Covington School with us today on the Megacast. And so we've seen in many other communities that are neighboring Oxford and communities across the state and the country that after other previous shootings, this has changed the paradigm of how they operate, of how they approach the day-to-day of educating kids, and it's changed psychologically the state of being in your school on a day-to-day basis for everyone involved, whether that be the students, the educators, the administrators, other faculty. At your school, at the Birmingham Covington School, how have things changed there, whether it be student feelings, their concerns, how they've been approaching their education in person, and for you and your colleagues as well as educators in the wake of the shooting?
In high school is similar to the situation at every school in Oakland County and across the state of Michigan. Everyone is reviewing our protocols for school safety. We are reviewing all of the procedures that we follow to do our absolute best to keep students and staff safe every day. And we, in the future, will of course review step by step how we make that happen with everyone as is the case in every school. And so the hope is that we are making sure that we are prepared, not scared. And that is the fundamental message. At the same time, we're also aware that we as educators can only do so much, and that there are other policy changes that need to occur, specifically around, as I said before, the need to increase the presence of mental health professionals in schools, counselors, school social workers, school psychologists, who would be available for students to drop in when they need support, who would be available to regularly meet with students who have any kind of emotional issue or trouble, so that students can receive the support that they need, and that we can provide the necessary care, because oftentimes the mental health professionals in public school settings are incredibly busy doing other things that do not involve support and counseling for students as much as we'd like. And so that to me is certainly one of the top priorities, in addition to preparing and planning to keep ourselves and our students safe.
As an experienced educator, and being that we have so many different situations, so many different environments educationally all across the state of Michigan, and so many different reactions and emotions in our student bodies here in Michigan in the wake of the shooting on Tuesday, November 30th. What suggestions do you have for other educators, particularly those that are new to the profession and are just getting into their classrooms this year for the first time, and helping their students navigate through this unpredictable and frankly horrible scenario that they're dealing with right now, considering their safety and the role of school in their lives in the wake of a shooting?
This tragedy in Oxford has been a reminder of the importance of community. And obviously we've all seen the evidence of that in Oxford, and the manifestation of Oxford Strong, and people coming together, putting aside their differences, realizing that we need each other, and we are far stronger together than we are separate. This tragedy is a reminder to all educators and to all members of the community that we need to come together to talk to each other and talk with each other and support each other. And I think that is happening. It certainly is happening in Oxford. There's been an outpouring of support for people there, but it's also a reminder to all of us that we're so much better together. We're so much better when we support each other at every level, at a professional level as educators, at a community level, between and among school staff, parents and students, and all citizens. When we provide opportunities for people to come together to share their thoughts and feelings and figure out ways that we can work together to move forward in positive directions, that's essentially what it means to be a citizen in a democracy. And that's what we hope for. That's what we hope will come out of this tragedy, is the opportunity for people to find common ground and work toward the benefit of all. That's essentially my hope.
Rick, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate your time, and anything else that you'd like to say before we let you go today?
Again, my heart goes out to everyone who has in any way been impacted by this tragedy in Oxford. It's a horrible situation, and my hope is that people will not only find some measure of peace at some point in the future, but that this will provide an opportunity for us to make some substantive policy changes that will help keep everyone safe moving forward.
Rick, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We've been joined by Rick Joseph, member of Michigan's School Safety Commission and a teacher at Birmingham Covington School on the Megacast. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll be speaking with Morgan Schilling. She is the Business Development Director at the Avalon Communities of Michigan. Joining us next, you're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM. Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe here in our studios in Oakland County, although we're broadcasting all throughout the state of Michigan live from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Monday through Friday. You can find us on a number of different community television and radio stations, as well as online, and you can learn more about everywhere that we broadcast, both live and live to tape, and find all of our shows and our interviews on demand by going to civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast link, or just typing in civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Joining us now is Morgan Schilling. She is the Business Development Director at the Avalon Communities of Michigan, with us on the Megacast. Morgan, thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you, Larry.
I appreciate having you on. So tell us about the Avalon Communities and what living options you have available there.
Yeah, so the 3 communities became the Avalon in early August of this year after transitioning to new ownership and management. Grace Management Incorporated has been serving the senior population for over 30 years, and it has now over 60 communities across 20 states nationwide. The Avalon of Auburn Hills, the Avalon of Bloomfield Township, and the Avalon of Commerce Township offers assisted living and memory care living options. Assisted living apartment styles include studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, equipped with a private bathroom and a kitchenette. And memory care includes studios and 1 bedrooms, also equipped with a private bathroom. Every Avalon apartment is handicap accessible, and our teams do work to incorporate every aspect of home because it is home to our residents.
And so it's an assisted living community, and we have many of these in our local area here in Oakland County. Of course, there's many all across the state of Michigan. But what is assisted living? What defines assisted living? What kind of services do you offer to your residents and your clients?
Yeah, so assisted living is providing seniors with personalized care in a community setting. So in each of our communities, we have a care team on site 24/7 to assist our residents with activities of daily living. And that term is also known as ADLs. And so with that, ADLs includes, but is not limited to, assistance with personal hygiene, mobility, and providing 3 meals daily to our residents. Each community also provides housekeeping and laundry services, daily enriching activities, on-site rehabilitation, including physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapies, as well as transportation. And so our goal is to allow our residents to have day-to-day freedom to come and go with the convenience of the supportive services that we offer at our communities.
We're joined by Morgan Schilling, the Business Development Director at the Avalon Communities of Michigan, with us today on the Megacast. And so COVID-19 has had an immense impact on assisted living facilities, on nursing homes, on other medical facilities, and on our senior community as well throughout the state of Michigan and around the country. As we continue through the pandemic, and we're in a surge right now here in the state of Michigan, how does Avalon Communities continue to navigate that situation to keep its residents and its clients safe, knowing that the majority of those that are in an assisted living facility, that are living in an assisted living facility, are those that either have medical histories or are at other risk factors because of their age against COVID-19?
Yeah, so thank you so much for asking that question, because it really is an important topic, especially right now with the surge. through this COVID-19 pandemic. The health and safety of our residents and associates in our Avalon communities has been and remains our top priority. Since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have proactively implemented additional protocols and precautionary measures for the protection of our residents and associates. As good neighbors in our communities, we know that communication with residents and their loved ones has been critical. We remain dedicated to providing virtual communication whenever in-person was not possible. And it has been a challenging time for everyone, but our amazing community teams have remained vigilant in their emergency preparedness plans and protocols we have in place. And we are fortunate to benefit from great partnerships to provide us with tools and resources to keep our communities safe. And we are following and adhering to the CDC guidelines as well as township guidelines and procedures.
We're joined by Morgan Schilling, the Business Development Director at the Avalon Communities of Michigan, joining us today on the Megacast. And also in the earlier portions of the pandemic, because of the precautions being taken by assisted living facilities and by other senior living facilities, nursing homes, and so on, that are often associated with assisted living facilities in some ways and others. Part of those precautions being taken were keeping some separations from outside people coming into these facilities, particularly in that case, loved ones of these individuals that are living there. So at this time, what does the Avalon Communities of Michigan provide to its clients in terms of supports for family and for loved ones, given that we're still navigating the pandemic and certain precautions are going to need to be taken by these facilities to keep their residents safe?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because it's not only important to support our residents, it's also important to support their families and loved ones who live in our communities, of residents who live in our communities. So each community, starting in January, will be hosting a monthly caregiver support group for those who have loved ones with memory loss. And we are also fortunate, and this is recent, we are offering education programs that are being presented by the Alzheimer's Association. And both the support group as well as the education program are offered either to attend in person or virtually, whichever you feel more comfortable with. And we also have a wide variety of contacts and partnerships for our families and loved ones looking for more support. And that includes hosting panel discussions with industry experts to answer questions, provide information, and be a general resource for those who may be navigating senior living options, who may have questions or concerns about their loved one, and just having that additional resource.
We're joined by Morgan Schilling, the Business Development Director at the Avalon Communities of Michigan, joining us today on the Megacast. And so, assisted living facilities are not just necessarily for those that have medical ailments that may impair them from living a more regular life, or for those that are of older age. Who should be considering potentially moving either themselves or potentially moving a loved one of theirs into an assisted living facility?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because a lot of our residents are very active. They can still maneuver around the community by themselves, and they, for the most part, still live very independently in our communities. And anyone who is at home, living by themselves, does not have a lot of day-to-day interaction, may want to look into moving into an assisted living community such as the Avalons, because our daily enriching activities provide socialization. We offer our residents communal dining, and so they are able to sit in the dining room and enjoy conversation with their neighbors. We have a fitness center on site, and we also offer the on-site rehabilitation, and so we keep our residents active through physical therapy, occupational therapy, and working with them on their speech therapies as well. So a lot of our residents move to our communities because they want to have that day-to-day socialization, that maybe their loved one can't stop over at their home every day and sit with them and have those conversations. And so we find that a lot of our residents do come from home because they enjoy that additional socialization.
We're joined by Morgan Schilling. She's the Business Development Director at the Avalon Communities of Michigan, joining us on the Megacast. And so for those that may be considering themselves or a loved one becoming a resident of an assisted living facility such as those at the Avalon Communities of Michigan, what considerations should they be making as they prepare to either look into that decision or as they make that decision and prepare to move in to one of these facilities?
Yeah, so I would suggest, if I were looking for my loved one, to start doing your research. Look at what options you have available around where you live, and look at what is important for your loved one who is looking at making that transition into a senior living community. Think about what they do on a day-to-day basis that is important to incorporate while living in a senior living community. And so we have residents who enjoy shopping, but they no longer drive. So then they're able to plan events. We can provide transportation to the grocery store. We can provide transportation to the local mall to bring our residents shopping, to still incorporate that day-to-day familiarity into living at the Avalons. And so the best way to learn more about our communities is by visiting our communities. And each Avalon community, there's always something happening on a day-to-day basis. And our doors are always open for the public to schedule a personalized visit. And so you can do this by visiting our website, www.gracemanagement, and that's spelled out gracemanagement.com. You can select communities in the upper left-hand corner and then scroll down to find Michigan, and you can select the Avalon that is closest to you. Feel free to give us a call, stop by. We're happy to answer any of your questions and provide you with a tour of our community.
Morgan, we thank you very much for joining us another few minutes with you on the show today. We're joined by Morgan Schilling, Business Development Director at the Avalon Communities of Michigan. As she said, you can learn more information by visiting gracemanagement.com. If someone wants to get in contact with your team there for assisted living or memory care options, who should they be contacting, and how soon after contacting you would they be able to then prepare to either move into one of these communities or go for a tour or other things that they may need?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We have sales directors in each of our communities that would be more than happy to answer any of your questions and schedule a personalized visit. They are usually available within maybe same day if you're lucky, but they are very busy. So typically we can schedule a visit for the following day. And then for move-in, the process for move-in would be, we just have some additional paperwork that we would require you to fill out. And then we can typically move someone in within 48 to 72 hours. And that's just contingent on paperwork process. We do a preliminary assessment with our wellness director. And then also we always encourage loved ones to bring furniture to furnish the apartments that's most familiar to the resident that will be moving in. So we do give you time to do that as well.
Morgan, we thank you for joining us. Anything else that would be important for our audience to know or to consider about the Avalon Communities of Michigan before we let you go today?
Yeah, so the Avalon of Commerce Township this Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m. will be hosting a Photos with Santa event. We just wanted to bring smiles to our residents' faces by bringing in children to visit with Santa. We'll have a build-your-own hot cocoa bar, as well as a mailbox for letters to be sent to the North Pole. And We will also be accepting donations, and they're not required. We will be gladly accepting donations for the Oxford community, and so we fundraise. We try and support our community as best as possible, and so we host events that the public is able to come to, and for the most part, they will have a fundraiser attached to them to help support our good neighbors.
Morgan, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. You can learn more information by visiting their website at gracemanagement.com to get in contact with the Avalon communities of Michigan and their other clients as well, gracemanagement.com. We're going to take one final break. On the other side, we will be joined by Beth Nixon. She is the owner of Rewear Vintage, located in downtown Berkeley, and talk to her all about all things reselling vintage clothing and apparel. That's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
A rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Now is Beth Nixon. She is the owner of Rewear Vintage in downtown Berkeley. You can learn more information on their website at rewearvintage.com. Beth, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Appreciate having you on the show. So tell us a little bit about Rewear Vintage. What can people expect to find at your store, and how did you come to owning this store and starting this in downtown Berkeley?
Well, I've been selling online on my own website, like you said, at rewearvintage.com for 16 years. We've lived in Berkeley for 10 years, and we've been thinking about opening a store for a long time. And just the perfect space opened up, and it really spoke to us. And so we're happy to be open. We opened just a few weeks ago, and we're so happy to be part of the community, both living here and owning a business here. But we sell all sorts of vintage clothing. We specialize in T-shirts from the 70s all the way through Y2K, and other casual kind of clothing, denim and jackets, sweaters and sweatshirts. Really, we want to outfit you with clothes that you're going to wear every day, not just for special occasions.
And so you mentioned that you've been selling vintage clothing online for about 16 years now, and that doesn't even mention the now brick and mortar store they have in downtown Berkeley. What got you into this line of work and selling vintage clothing?
When I was just a teenager, I was a little punk rock kid. And at that time in the 90s, it was hard to find T-shirts and clothes that really were my style. So I liked going thrift shopping and finding old tour T-shirts for bands that I liked from the 70s and the 80s. And I loved my vintage Levi's and loud sweaters and the crazy stuff that a teenager would put together. But people would stop me on the street and ask me where I got the clothes that I was wearing. And then people started asking me to find things for them. And I loved wearing vintage, and I loved helping other people find what they were looking for, and hearing stories from people about their memories about the items I was wearing or finding for them. And eBay launched a couple years later. I started selling on eBay, and so I've been doing this for on my own website for 16 years, but well over 20 years I've been selling vintage clothing. So the store is just a whole nother branch. And we're so happy to be here.
So what makes something then considered vintage?
Oh, that's a great question. Technically, vintage is 20 years old. So believe it or not, something that was made in 2001 is now vintage. So that's about what we carry up to is Y2K.
So for your business, Rewear Vintage, which is located in downtown Berkeley, it's also online, rewearvintage.com. How do you get how do you obtain the vintage clothing and other items that you're selling?
Well, mostly through the community, people locally that are cleaning out their basements, their closets, their attics. A lot of times people will go to a concert, buy a T-shirt, throw it in a box, and hold on to it for 10 or 20 or 30 years. And when people are looking through their things and wanting to slim down their possessions, they'll reach out to me, and I'll do house calls where they can bring clothing here to the store now too. And then I also just have a lot of friends and people around me in the state and in Illinois and Ohio who know what I do and what I like to carry and sell, and will also keep an eye out for me and sell me things as well.
We're joined by Beth Nixon, the owner of Rewear Vintage, located in downtown Berkeley and online at rewearvintage.com. And so you're at your store right now in downtown Berkeley. Tell us a little bit about your hours of operation, when people can come in to shop, and then if somebody wants to provide your store with some of their vintage clothing or other items for you to then resell, how can they go about that?
Sure. Like you said, we're located in downtown Berkeley. Our address is 2965 West 12 Mile Road. And if you know where the old Berkeley movie theater sign is, we're right across the street from that. Our holiday hours are 12 to 5 on Wednesdays, 12 to 9 on Thursdays, 12 to 5 on Fridays, and 11 to 5 on Saturdays. We're closed Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And if people want to make a buying appointment to bring in their clothes, I do buying appointments on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And you can call the store at 248-439-0007 to make an appointment with me.
We're joined by Beth Nixon, owner of Rewear Vintage, located in downtown Berkeley. You can learn more information about the store and explore some of the products that they have available at this time down at the store by visiting rewearvintage.com. Again, that is rewearvintage.com. Right now, they recently posted a $1,200 Iron Maiden tour shirt that was only sold at select shows back in 1983, specifically in Texas. And so, Beth, of course, that's a great find, and it's a really interesting and unique item. What have been some of the other more unique or what have been some of the other more unique items that have come through your store or been sold through Rewear Vintage in your years of operations?
Oh my gosh. Well, I've sold thousands of t-shirts. It's hard to pick some favorites, but like you said, that Iron Maiden one is really exceptional. And it is so rare and so unique that it's just from those 8 dates in Texas. It was a thrill to get that. But we carry band t-shirts from across the spectrum of music. Right now we have Garth Brooks t-shirts, Run DMC t-shirts. We've got a Misfits shirt from the 90s, a D12 shirt that was owned by one of their security guards. We've got all sorts of t-shirts for movies too. We have Teen Wolf and Three Amigos. And really, gosh, I think the best t-shirt I ever had was a Beastie Boys shirt that they had to pull off their License to Ill Communication tour after a few dates because there were so many people upset about the vulgarity on the back. And that was probably the favorite shirt of mine to have for a little bit before it passed on to somebody else.
So Beth, people are bringing in their items consistently to your store. You're looking all over for these vintage items that you can then resell through Rewear Vintage. About how long on average would you say that these products remain in your store, remain available online before somebody picks them up?
That's a really good question. I mean, we have t-shirts that sell for starting at $16, so there's lots at every price point. And a lot of those lower priced t-shirts will last just a day or two, along with like any t-shirts for the Detroit Tigers, Red Wings, Pistons. Those don't last long at all. But then we also have shirts that will stick around for a year or two before the right person sees it who's been looking for it. And I imagine that Iron Maiden shirt will take a little bit to sell. But we're happy to always be finding new t-shirts. We put out new shirts and clothing every week. And it's exciting to reunite them with new owners. And sometimes it's people that owned the shirt 20 or 30 years ago who lost it, or an ex took it or something. So I'm happy to have them find it again and wear it all over again.
You can learn more information and and take a look at all the products that they currently have available at their website at rewearvintage.com or by visiting their store in downtown Berkeley. We're joined by Rewear Vintage owner Beth Nixon on the Megacast, and people are doing their holiday shopping. They're going to continue to be doing that, their last minute shopping as we head into next week and approach the Christmas holiday and other holidays toward the end of the year. And people want to be shopping local, are still focused, hopefully, or at least we hope that they are, on shopping local. So right now at your store, what are some interesting items that would make good gifts, even stocking stuffers, for people this holiday season?
Sure. Well, one of the big hits that we've had this season is these old Detroit Tigers glasses from 1984. I located a whole case of them, and so people have been coming in and buying one or an entire set of 4 for people that are the big Tigers fans in their lives. I've also got a ton of old snapback hats from the 80s and 90s for local teams and for bands and for favorite places that someone might want to collect a hat from. And then I do make, and I'm wearing a pair right now, these earrings that I cut from vinyl records. And they come in all sorts of different colors and shapes and sizes. And they're a big hit with people who are record collectors and musicians. So those are a great stocking stuffer too. We also have gift cards that you can buy online, and it will just get emailed straight to you to give to whoever you want to gift to. If you know that they love vintage, but they're a hard to shop for person, a gift card is a good way to go to.
We're joined by Beth Nixon, owner of Rewear Vintage in downtown Berkeley, joining us today on the Megacast. You can learn more information again on their website at rewearvintage.com, where you can also do some shopping as well, as it began as an online business, and now they have their store, of course, in downtown Berkeley. Again, their website, rewearvintage.com, is where you'll be able to find all of this information in a whole lot of different categories, and you can do your shopping online as well. And so, Beth, just another few minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else that would be interesting for our audience to know about your store at this time, or anything else that you'd like to talk about that we haven't discussed today?
Well, I guess I would just say that we do carry all sizes. We carry kids' clothes from 6 months up, and adult men's and women's clothes from extra small all the way up to 3X. So we like to think that there's something for everybody, every size of every age here.
Well, Beth, we appreciate your time. Thank you for telling us about this really interesting business that you have in downtown Berkeley.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Tyler.
The county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is a source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith, thanking you for tuning in to this week's editions of the Megacast. With just a little over 2 minutes left in today's show, I want to give a big thank you to everyone that joined us on this Friday edition of the Megacast, including Beth Nixon, the owner of Rewear Vintage in downtown Berkeley, Morgan Schilling, the Business Development Director at the Avalon Communities of Michigan, for being with us, Rick Joseph, who is a 5th and 6th grade teacher at Birmingham Covington School and also a member of the Michigan School Safety Commission, the etiquette guru, Stacy Amey, as well as Dr. Hebah Hefzy, the medical director of the stroke program at Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital. If you missed any of those interviews, or you're just tuning in now and want to see our full show, it'll be on demand sometime this afternoon on our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. Just click on the full episodes link or the watch full interviews link, however you want to do it, in order to see everything from the Megacast on each and every one of our shows going all the way back to March of 2020. Highly encourage you also to go to our coronavirus page to stay up to date on the top stories across the state of Michigan, both about COVID-19 and other news and information that is in the topic of conversation across the Great Lakes state at this moment in time. And it's also where you'll find resources from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the State Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division about COVID-19, so you can keep yourself safe, know more about the spread of COVID in our communities, the precautions that we can be taking, and how you can get yourself and your loved ones vaccinated, including those booster shots that are available for those 16 years of age and up who received any of the 3 vaccines available, Pfizer, Moderna, or Johnson & Johnson. Big thank you to our entire crew as well for their work today and each and every day with us this week and Monday through Friday, weekly on the Megacast. Calvin Brown, our studio producer and board operator, joining me each and every day here in the studio for our 2-hour show. As well as an extra half hour before that for our other content as well. Jared Clark over at our My Michigan TV offices in Troy, Michigan, our Zoom producer. And of course, Larry Nyland, our booking producer, getting all the guests scheduled, getting them, and helping us get prepared for each and every show. On My Michigan TV up next, it's Steve Lato Live. More great original programming and municipal meetings here on Civic Center TV. And we will return Monday morning at 10 a.m.